Hello everybody and welcome back to One Nerd to Rule Them All. In today's video, we'll be covering Sauron's campaign of the Northern Theatre during the War of the Ring. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Whilst Mordor's central war effort was focused in the south against Gondor, Sauron concurrently attempted to outflank the lands of the Free People by going through Rhovanion. He planned to do this by using his orcs and his Easterling allies. In this theatre of the war, Sauron's primary strategic objective was to use the forces at his primary base of operations in the area, Dol Guldur in southern Mirkwood, to defeat the Elven realm of Lothlorien, then pass over the Misty Mountains to take Rivendell and Eriador. However, Dol Guldur also had to deal with the threat of the Elven Woodland realm of Thranduil, and thus was forced to split the orc forces. He spent the larger portion to attack Lothlorien and the others to the Woodland realm. Sauron would have unquestionably used his Easterling allies to attack these realms, were it not for the fact that the way west was blocked by the dwarves of the Lonely Mountain and the Iron Hills and the men of Dale. Thus, these Free People needed to be taken care of. Bridging the gap between the northern and southern theatres of the war was the line of the river Anduin between Lothlorien and Gondor, running along Rohan's border. Orc armies peeled off from the assault on Lothlorien and tried to enter Rohan via this route, but the Ents of Fangorn Forest counterattacked on the ward of Rohan and destroyed the invading forces. The dwarves of the Lonely Mountain and the Dalemen declined the offering of alliance that Sauron's emissaries brought to them, seeking knowledge of the Shire. Sauron sent a large contingent of Easterling allies to assault Dale to prevent his enemies from joining forces, and they crossed the river Carnan while Minas Tirith was besieged far away. The combined forces of the Dalemen under King Brand and the dwarves of the Lonely Mountain and the Iron Hills under King Dain II met the Easterlings in battle on March 14th of 3019. Though Sauron's forces were probably more numerous, it is likely that the dwarves and the Dalemen were better equipped, thanks to the Lonely Mountain's armories. Nonetheless, after 3 days of heavy fighting, the Easterlings forced them to retreat to the Lonely Mountain, where they were besieged. Sadly, King Brand, King of Dale, and King Dain, King under the mountain, both fell fighting before the gates. Despite winning the battle, the Easterlings were unable to capture the gate, instead besieging the mountain for many days. It was not until news of Sauron's defeat arrived from the south that the tides changed. Seeing the morale of their foes being sapped, the armies of Dale and Erebor, led by their new kings, Bard II and Thorin III, managed to lift the siege on March 27th, driving the Easterlings out of Dale. The battle was very important for the future of Middle-earth. Though it could not have changed the outcome of the War of the Ring, which was tied to the fate of the One Ring, a victory by Sauron's forces would have had devastating consequences. Though it is impossible to tell the future, Sauron's Easterling armies would have likely been able to join up with Sauron's forces from Dol Guldur in their attack on the Woodland realm of Mirkwood, potentially tipping the scales in favour of Mordor. The corruption of Mirkwood might have been completed, and Dol Guldur could have become an obvious staging point for a future assault on Lothlorien, though a successful invasion of Lothlorien would have been very difficult due to Galadriel and her ring. Both Rohan and Gondor would also be further threatened by a victory of Sauron in the north, and Eriador and Rivendell too would be in danger. Even without being completely defeated, the Battle of Dale still further reduced the already low numbers of dwarves and thus helped pave the way for the domination of men in the Fourth Age. On March 11th, Lothlorien was first attacked by Dol Guldur. It was attacked 2 further times on March 15th and March 22nd. When the Dark Lord had fallen, Celeborn led his armies out of Lorien and crossed the Anduin. Dol Guldur was captured and destroyed by Galadriel. Thranduil of Mirkwood was also attacked from Dol Guldur on March 15th, resulting in a long battle under the trees, in which Thranduil's kinfolk won a hard victory. Easterlings were supposed to arrive and overwhelm the elves, but they were occupied in the battle with the dwarves and the men at the Lonely Mountain. The Elven king himself repelled the attack, and there was a long battle from which ensued great ruin of fire among the woods. King Thranduil and his people emerged as victors, and he announced a new year of the elves. On the day of the new year, Thranduil and Celeborn met in the forest, where they renamed Mirkwood as Erin Lasgallen, the Wood of the Green Leaves. Thranduil gave the southern part of his realm to Celeborn, and kept the northern part as far as the mountains for himself and his people. The woodland in between were given to the Beornings and Woodmen. After the defeat of the Dark Lord, Saruman used the power of his voice to convince Treebeard to release him from Isengard. He travelled to the Shire, where he replaced Lotho Saxville Baggins as the chief under the name Sharky. Under his command, ruffian men entered the Shire and ruined it. They were defeated by the Shire folk and Bucklanders, led by Meriadoc Brandybuck and Peregrine Took, in the Battle of the Bywater on November 3rd. The hobbits headed to Hobbiton, where Frodo ordered Saruman and Wormtongue to leave the Shire. Wormtongue, however, killed Saruman, for he himself was killed by the hobbits and their arrows. With the death of the wizard Saruman, the War of the Ring finally ended. The War of the Ring had great influence on all of the lands of the northwest of Middle-earth. Most importantly, it led to the restoration of the kingdoms of Arnor and Gondor as the reunited kingdom under King Elessar. The steward of Gondor was dead, but he was succeeded by his son, Faramir. In Rohan, the heir apparent Theodred was killed in the Battle of Pelennor Fields. King Theoden had died as well. Instead, he was succeeded by his nephew, Eomer. In the glittering caves at the Hornburg, a dwarven colony was established, and Isengard was given to the Ents, who filled Saruman's pit and reforested the land, renaming it the Treegarth of Orthanc. In Dale, both King Brand and King Dain were killed, and they were succeeded by their sons, Bard II and Thorin III. They sent their emissaries to the crowning of King Elessar, and were in alliance with Gondor until the kingdoms ended. For the elves, the final decline had begun. With the destruction of the One Ring, the power of the Three Rings faded, and the kingdom that had been preserved by their magic began to fade with them. The bearers of the ring left Middle-earth, and Lorien was eventually abandoned. The elves of Lothlorien, who did not depart over the sea, moved east to the southern third of Mirkwood, below the Narrows, which they named East Lorien. In Erin Lasgallen, however, Thranduil's rule continued, and they had peace. Many of the elves of Rivendell departed over the sea, and by Aragorn's death, 120 years later, only the sons of Elrond, Celeborn, and a small household remained. That brings us to the end of the video, as we covered the Northern Theatre during the War of the Ring. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then please join the Fellowship by subscribing to the channel. The gameplays and live streams on games like Diablo and Warhammer and things like that, please make your way over to my partner Rothmer's channel. Anyway, that'll be it from me. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you guys are. Bye for now.